Welcome back, coin enthusiasts and treasure hunters from all around the world. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of rare Lincoln pennies, and this time, the spotlight shines on one of the most mysterious and valuable coins ever discovered in American numismatic history, the 1967 no-mint Mark 1-cent coin. Imagine this: a simple penny that you might overlook in your spare change, a coin that most people wouldn't think twice about, could actually be worth a life-changing $700,000. Sounds unbelievable, right? But as we explore the intricate story behind the 1967 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, you'll realize just how real this possibility is and why coin collectors, experts, and treasure seekers have become obsessed with uncovering this hidden gem of the U.S. Mint's production history. So, grab your magnifying glass and get ready to learn how one small coin could transform an ordinary day into the discovery of a lifetime. The 1967 Lincoln cent holds a unique place in American coinage history because of the time period it was produced in, a time when the U.S. Mint was dealing with major transitions and trying to solve pressing issues caused by a nationwide coin shortage. During the mid-1960s, the Mint temporarily removed mint marks from coins to discourage hoarding, which means that every 1967 penny was struck without a mint mark, regardless of whether it was produced in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. However, that very decision, combined with human errors, design imperfections, and metal inconsistencies, created a perfect storm that gave birth to a small number of extraordinarily rare and valuable error coins that would later send shockwaves through the collecting community. Collectors today are fascinated not just by the coin's design featuring President Abraham Lincoln's bust on the obverse and the iconic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, but by the fact that certain minting errors have turned what should be a common penny into an artifact worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let's begin by understanding how such value emerges. The most critical factor contributing to the 1967 no-mint Mark penny's extraordinary worth lies in minting mistakes. The types of errors that are so unusual and so visually striking that they immediately capture the attention of collectors. Among these, one of the most sought-after variations is the double die error, which occurs when the coin die strikes the blank planchet twice slightly out of alignment. When this happens, elements like the date 1967, the word Liberty, or the motto In God We Trust, appear doubled, creating a distinct shadow or ghosting effect that can be seen even without magnification. Coins with strong, visible doubling are especially rare because they were usually caught early in production and removed from circulation, yet a few managed to escape detection and enter the public domain. A 1967 penny with this kind of doubling, especially one with sharp detail and original luster, could easily command prices well into the six-figure range. Another major type of error found in these coins is the off-center strike, which happens when the blank coin is not properly aligned between the dies during minting. Depending on how far off the center the strike is, part of the design can be missing while leaving the blank copper surface visible on one side. A 1967 penny that's 5% off-center might only be worth a few $100s, but if it's 50% or more off-center and still shows a clear date, the value can skyrocket into the thousands, and if it combines with another error type, such as a double die, the value can jump exponentially. Then there's the broad strike error, where the coin is struck outside the retaining collar, causing it to spread wider than normal. These broad-struck coins look slightly larger and flatter than standard pennies and can be worth several $1,000s, especially if they remain in mint condition. But among all known 1967 penny errors, the ones that have made headlines and reached astronomical valuations are those struck on the wrong planchet. You see, during the 1960s, the U.S. Mint was striking multiple coin denominations in the same facilities, and occasionally, planchets from one denomination would accidentally get mixed into the wrong batch. In rare cases, a penny design was struck on a dime planchet, resulting in a coin that appears lighter, smaller in diameter, and made of a different metal composition. These transitional or wrong planchet errors are some of the most valuable of all because they combine rarity, historical intrigue, and visible uniqueness. A 1967 penny struck on a silver dime planchet could easily bring more than $700,000 at auction, depending on condition and provenance. Another astonishing error involves the so-called clipped planchet, where a small crescent-shaped portion of the coin's edge is missing because the metal strip from which blanks were punched overlapped during cutting. Though minor clips can bring modest premiums, large or multiple clips, especially those that create an odd shape, can elevate the coin's value significantly. On top of that, some 1967 pennies display die cracks, cuds, or die breaks, small raised lines or missing areas of design caused by the deterioration or fracturing of the dies used to strike them. These errors may seem minor, but when prominent and located in visible areas, they make the coin stand out to error collectors who prize originality and imperfection. Adding to the coin's allure is its historical context. In 1967, the mint produced over 3 billion pennies. But because all carry no mint mark, identifying where specific coins came from became nearly impossible. This blanket production decision made varieties harder to trace, increasing the mystery surrounding certain rare examples. The decision to remove mint marks was meant to calm coin hoarding that had gripped the nation, yet ironically, it only deepened collectors' fascination once mint marks returned in later years. Many experts believe that a handful of experimental planchets or prototype dies might have been tested during that period, leading to unusual texture differences, color variations, and strike qualities. Some 1967 pennies have an unusually glossy or proof-like surface, suggesting they may have been struck with special care, while others show matte or uneven toning that adds to their uniqueness. Then comes the human factor, the way these coins were handled, bagged, transported, and released into circulation. During the coin shortage, the mint was under intense pressure to produce large volumes quickly, which inevitably led to mistakes slipping through quality control. That's why today, every surviving error from 1967 is like a time capsule from that frantic production era, representing both the challenges and ingenuity of American coinage. Now, why does the value soar so high, up to $700,000? For some of these examples? The answer lies in rarity, demand, and condition. When a coin combines multiple layers of scarcity, such as an error type that is both rare and visually dramatic, it attracts intense competition among collectors and investors. Auction houses have recorded remarkable results for certain error coins, and when provenance, certification, and IAPL align, prices can reach incredible levels. A 1967 no-mint mark penny with a dramatic off-metal strike or major doubling error in pristine uncirculated condition could easily enter the six-figure realm, especially when authenticated by leading grading services like PCGS or NGC. Even ordinary-looking 1967 pennies can surprise collectors when examined under magnification. Sometimes the difference between a 1-cent coin and a $700,000 rarity is as subtle as a small doubling on the date, a minor lamination peel, or an unnoticed off-metal tone. That's why coin enthusiasts and treasure hunters often emphasize the importance of checking your change, because fortune can literally be hiding in plain sight. Imagine the excitement of someone discovering such a coin in a jar of old pennies or in pocket change after decades of being ignored. Stories of such discoveries circulate frequently in the numismatic community, fueling the dream that perhaps the next big find is still out there waiting to be uncovered. The 1967 penny's legacy also connects deeply to the broader evolution of Lincoln cents. Since their introduction in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, these coins have undergone numerous design and composition changes, each marking a chapter of American history. By 1967, the coin's composition was primarily 95% copper and 5% zinc, but subtle differences in metal mix or planchet thickness sometimes occurred, creating color variations ranging from bright red to dark brown, which can affect desirability. Some collectors even specialize in finding unique toning patterns, rainbow hues or deep chocolate tones, that enhance aesthetic appeal and rarity. The intrigue doesn't stop there. Some experts speculate that a few 1967 pennies may have been struck using experimental dies intended for testing new alloy compositions. While definitive proof remains elusive, such theories only add to the coin's mythos. If one such experimental coin were verified today, its value could easily surpass the already jaw-dropping $700,000 mark, setting a new record for Lincoln cent collectors. The 1967 no-mint mark penny also symbolizes a bridge between the early and modern eras of U.S. coin production, an era when craftsmanship met mass manufacturing and human oversight met mechanical precision. Every surviving era from that year reminds us that even the smallest imperfections can lead to immense historical and financial significance. Coin collectors often say that rarity is where history meets art, and the 1967 penny embodies that perfectly. It represents not just a piece of copper but a tangible connection to America's economic and industrial story. And that's why passionate numismatists continue to search tirelessly for these elusive errors, investing hours into examining rolls, boxes, and bags of old pennies in hopes of striking gold, or in this case, striking copper worth a fortune. So if you ever come across a 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, don't dismiss it as just another coin. Look closely. Examine the date, the edges, the lettering, and the shine. Even the tiniest detail could mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and one worth $700,000. Clean lighting, a magnifying glass, and a bit of patience might reveal a hidden treasure. And remember, many great discoveries started as coincidences, someone casually checking change, sorting through an inherited coin jar, or browsing at a flea market. Your next encounter with a 1967 penny could very well be your ticket to uncovering one of the rarest and most valuable coins in modern American history. The story of the 1967 no-mint mark penny is one of chance, craftsmanship, and curiosity, a timeless reminder that extraordinary things often hide in the most ordinary places. Next, 1982 D1 cent USA coin. If you thought the 1967 no-mint mark penny story was unbelievable, get ready, because the next coin we're exploring today takes the excitement of coin collecting to a whole new level. The 1982 D Lincoln cent, a small, copper-colored coin that might look ordinary to the naked eye but has stunned the world with its potential value of up to $400,000. Yes, you heard that right. A single 1-cent coin from 1982 with a D mint mark can be worth more than a house, a luxury car, or even a lifetime of savings. But how is it possible that something as common as a penny minted in the 1980s could be so valuable? The answer lies in a remarkable year of transition, confusion, and minting anomalies that led to one of the greatest coin mysteries in modern U.S. history. The 1982 Lincoln penny is unlike any other because it was minted during a pivotal change in America's coinage system, a year when the U.S. Mint switched from the traditional 95% copper composition to a much cheaper zinc core coated with copper plating to save production costs. For over 120 years, pennies had been mostly copper, but as copper prices surged in the early 1980s, it became more expensive to produce the coin than its face value. In 1982, the Mint decided to change the penny's composition from 3.11 grams of solid copper to 2.5 grams of zinc with a thin copper layer. However, instead of cleanly transitioning from one material to the other, both copper and zinc pennies were produced simultaneously that year at multiple mints, including Denver, where the 1982 D coins were struck. This overlap created an unprecedented mix of variations, different compositions, different sizes of lettering, and even subtle minting errors that would go unnoticed for decades. That's where the story of the ultra-rare 1982 D copper penny begins, a coin that became legendary because it shouldn't even exist. Let's unravel this fascinating numismatic tale step by step. In 1982, the U.S. Mint produced 7 known variations of the Lincoln cent: 1982 large date copper, 1982 small date copper, 1982 D large date copper, 1982 large date zinc, 1982 small date zinc, 1982 D large date zinc, and 1982 D small date zinc. Each has its own characteristics, but the one that caused shockwaves across the coin community is the 1982 D small date copper penny. For years, experts believed that no small date copper pennies with the Denver Mint mark were struck, as all 1982 D small date coins were assumed to be zinc. But in 2016, a collector from Minnesota made a discovery that would rewrite coin collecting history. He found a genuine 1982 D small date copper penny weighing 3.11 grams, confirming that somehow, a few copper planchets were mistakenly used to strike the new small date design at the Denver Mint. This discovery instantly elevated the coin's status to legendary. To this day, only one confirmed example exists, and it's been authenticated by the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, the world's leading coin certification authority. Experts have valued it at around $400,000, though some speculate that if it ever hit a high-profile auction, it could bring much more. The reason this coin is so valuable is simple. It's a minting era born from an extraordinary transition period, and its uniqueness makes it the holy grail of modern U.S. coinage. To understand what makes it special, let's break down what small date and large date mean. On 1982 pennies, the size and style of the numbers in the date are slightly different depending on the die used. The small date version has a thinner 2 in 1982, with the bottom of the 2 curving upward, and the 8 looks more balanced. On the large date version, the 2 has a thicker curve, and the 8 looks slightly taller and uneven. These subtle differences can mean the difference between a common coin and one worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, when it comes to the composition, copper and zinc pennies can be easily distinguished by weight. Copper coins weigh 3.11 grams, while zinc coins weigh 2.5 grams. That's how collectors discovered that the rare 1982 D small date penny was made of copper instead of zinc. It's a classic case of a wrong planchet error. A few leftover copper blanks from early 1982 were accidentally fed into the press for small date dies meant for zinc pennies. This mistake resulted in one of the most remarkable minting anomalies of all time. What makes it even more fascinating is how the Denver Mint, known for high efficiency and tight quality control, could have allowed such an error to slip through. The explanation likely lies in the chaos of 1982's dual production system. Both copper and zinc planchets were in use at different times, and dies were swapped frequently. Even one or two copper planchets lingering in the machinery could have produced a handful of off-metal strikes before being caught, meaning only a microscopic number survived. It's possible that more than one exists. Maybe a few others are hiding in private collections or buried in old coin jars, waiting to be discovered, and that possibility keeps collectors around the world scanning their 1982 D pennies with excitement and hope. The discovery of the 1982 D small date copper penny also ignited a renewed interest in searching for transitional era coins, those struck with mismatched designs, metals, or planchets during composition changes. These transitional eras often command extraordinary premiums, as they represent historical moments when technology, human oversight, and timing collided. Similar examples include the 1943 copper penny, worth millions, the 1944 steel penny, and the 1977 D silver planchet eras. But the 1982 D copper penny stands out because it's a modern coin, minted in an era of automation and strict quality control, making its existence even more mysterious. Collectors and investors often ask, how can you tell if your 1982 D penny might be the rare one? The key is careful examination. Start by checking the mint mark. It must have a D for Denver. Next, look at the date style. You're looking for the small date variety. The 8 and 2 should appear level, and the bottom curve of the 2 should be higher than the base of the 1 and 8. Then, the most important step, weigh the coin on a precise digital scale. If it weighs 3.11 grams, congratulations, you might be holding a piece of numismatic history. Most 1982 D pennies will weigh 2.5 grams and are zinc-based, but the copper one, at 3.11 grams, is the jackpot. Beyond its physical attributes, the 1982 D penny story represents an intersection of economics, technology, and chance. The mint's decision to change composition was purely financial, as the cost of copper had made minting the coin unsustainable. But that economic adjustment inadvertently produced a legendary rarity. This one small oversight by the mint created an object that captures the imagination of millions, a simple penny transformed into a symbol of how value can emerge from imperfection. When the verified example was certified, collectors around the globe couldn't believe it. Forums, coin magazines, and auction houses were flooded with speculation. Could there be more out there? Would another be found in circulation? For years, hobbyists have searched through rolls of 1982 pennies in hopes of discovering the next specimen. People have reported weighing thousands of coins, visiting flea markets, garage sales, and inherited collections from parents or grandparents. The search has become a treasure hunt that connects generations. And it's not just about the money, it's about the thrill of uncovering something history forgot to mention. The allure of the 1982 penny also lies in its dual nature, both common and rare, both modern and ancient in spirit. Billions of 1982 pennies were produced, yet among them hides a near mythical few struck with the wrong metal, and that paradox fascinates collectors. It reminds everyone that even in an age of machines, human error and chance still have room to create miracles. If one rare 1982 copper penny can exist, there could be more, maybe sitting unnoticed in jars, drawers, or old wallets across America. It could be in a child's coin collection, or lying forgotten in a coffee can in someone's attic. That thought keeps hope alive and fuels one of the most enduring treasure hunts in modern collecting. Now, let's talk about other eras that might make your 1982 pennies valuable even if they're not the rare copper small date variety. Some 1982 pennies show die cracks, cut breaks, or off-center strikes. Next, 1981 cent USA coin. We continue our incredible journey through the fascinating world of US 1-cent coins, exploring another remarkable story that proves once again that even the smallest coin in your pocket could be worth an unbelievable amount of money. This time, the spotlight shines on the 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln 1 cent, a coin that, on the surface, looks utterly ordinary, yet certain rare examples have been valued as high as $500,000 due to astonishing minting errors, historical peculiarities, and the unpredictable magic of numismatic rarity. So, get comfortable, because we're about to dive deep into the story of how a simple 1980 penny, one that countless Americans handled without a second thought, became a symbol of hidden wealth and mystery, a tiny copper disc carrying within it the potential to change someone's life forever. The year 1980 was an important one in the history of American coinage. The United States Mint, operating facilities in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, was in a period of modernization. Advances in minting technology, die production, and metal processing were transforming the way coins were struck, but with these changes came growing pains, unexpected errors, transitional flaws, and subtle variations that would later catch the attention of collectors. The 1980 no-mint mark penny was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which at that time did not use a mint mark on its coins. Unlike the Denver or San Francisco facilities, whose coins carried a D or S, Philadelphia coins were left unmarked. Normally, this detail would make them common, but 1980 wasn't a normal year. By 1980, inflation and rising metal costs were already beginning to challenge the long-standing copper composition of the Lincoln cent. Though the official switch to zinc wouldn't happen until 1982, discussions and experiments were already underway at the mint years earlier. As a result, some fascinating anomalies occurred, including off-metal strikes, die inconsistencies, and transitional tests using non-standard planchets. These unusual circumstances would eventually give rise to some of the most valuable penny errors ever discovered, especially those dated 1980. The most famous among them is the 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln cent struck on a transitional or off-metal planchet, an error so rare and mysterious that it has fetched offers up to $500,000 in private sales and high-end auctions. So, what exactly makes the 1980 penny worth such an extraordinary amount? It comes down to a combination of historical context, rarity, and unmistakable minting errors. First, we need to understand that 1980 was one of the last years when pennies were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, weighing 3.11 grams. This composition had been used since 1909, the year the Lincoln cent was introduced. However, as the mint prepared for a future transition to cheaper materials, a number of experimental strikes were performed using different alloys and planchet types. In a few extremely rare cases, blank planchets meant for other denominations, like dimes or foreign coins, accidentally made their way into penny production presses. When this happened, the result was a 1980 penny struck on the wrong metal, sometimes lighter in weight, sometimes smaller in diameter, and often with distinct coloration or texture differences. Collectors have identified several types of these 1980 errors. Some are off-metal strikes on dime planchets, making them thinner, lighter, and silvery in appearance, while others show clipped planchets, broad strikes, or double die obverse errors. Among these, the most desirable and valuable are the off-metal transitional errors, where the 1980 penny was struck on a dime planchet or other alloy not intended for that denomination. Because such mistakes should have been caught and melted down before release, their survival is considered a miracle. When authenticated, these coins can command enormous prices at auction, with top-quality examples fetching $300,000 to $500,000 or more, depending on appeal and provenance. But even beyond the off-metal strikes, there are other varieties of the 1980 no-mint mark penny that can make it worth thousands, or in exceptional cases, hundreds of thousands, of dollars. Let's start with the double die obverse (DDO) error. A double die error occurs when the die used to strike the coin is engraved twice with slight misalignment, resulting in doubling of the design elements. On a 1980 penny, this can cause visible doubling on the date 1980, on the motto, "In God We Trust," or on the word, "Liberty." Coins with strong doubling are extremely rare and instantly recognizable even to the naked eye. The more pronounced and complete the doubling, the higher the value. Some verified examples of 1980 DDO pennies have sold for over $5,000, but if a pristine uncirculated specimen with full, dramatic doubling were to surface, experts believe it could command prices of $50,000 or more, and in conjunction with another major minting anomaly, the value could soar to $500,000. Another error that makes certain 1980 pennies valuable is the off-center strike, where the coin blank was not properly centered under the die during minting. Depending on how far off-center the strike is, part of the design may be missing, and a crescent-shaped blank area remains. The value of these errors depends on how dramatic they are. Coins struck 5 to 10% off-center may be worth a few $100s, but coins struck 50 to 75% off-center, with the date still visible, can fetch thousands. Combine that with the no-mint mark factor, and the value climbs even higher. Now let's talk about one of the most interesting types of 1980 penny errors, the broad strike. A broad struck coin occurs when it's struck without the collar that normally holds the metal in place, causing the coin to spread outwards and appear slightly larger and flatter than normal. Broad-struck 1980 no-mint mark pennies are visually striking and highly collectible, often worth hundreds to several $1,000s depending on condition and degree of the strike. When paired with other features like die cracks or off-center alignment, they can reach values that rival gold coins of the same era. There are also examples of clipped planchets, where a portion of the metal blank was accidentally cut from overlapping areas of the metal sheet, leaving a curved clip missing from the edge of the coin. While minor clips are fairly common, major or double clips, especially on older coins, are much rarer. A 1980 penny with a large clip and a full visible date can be worth hundreds or even thousands. But if a coin combines this feature with other minting errors, its value multiplies exponentially. However, the real treasures of 1980 are those that defy logic, pennies struck on the wrong metal entirely. Imagine finding a penny that looks silvery instead of copper, weighing only 2.3 grams instead of 3.11. That's a telltale sign it was struck on a dime planchet, a blank intended for 10-cent coins. These rare hybrid errors are among the most coveted finds in the hobby. Some 1980 no-mint mark pennies have been found with a distinct silvery hue, a slightly smaller diameter, and weaker design details due to the mismatch in planchet and die size. When certified by PCGS or NGC, these coins have sold for extraordinary sums, and experts estimate that the finest known example could easily surpass the $500,000 mark if sold today. But the story doesn't end with metallic composition errors. 1980 also saw its share of die cracks, cuds, and lamination errors, tiny yet fascinating imperfections that occurred during the intense pressure of minting billions of coins. Die cracks are raised lines on the coin's surface caused by fractured dies, while cuds are areas of missing design near the rim due to die breakage. Lamination errors occur when impurities in the metal cause parts of the coin's surface to peel or bubble. Though these are less dramatic than off-metal strikes, they still hold significant value, especially when the error is large or visually striking. Collectors pay premiums for such pieces because they're physical evidence of the minting process going slightly awry. The historical context adds even more intrigue. The Philadelphia Mint was operating under intense production pressure in 1980, striking over 7 billion pennies that year. With such massive output, even the tiniest margin for error could result in thousands of defective coins, but only a handful ever escaped into circulation. That's why even though billions of 1980 no-mint mark pennies exist, only a tiny fraction carry the rare anomalies that make them worth life-changing money. Every now and then, stories emerge of people discovering valuable 1980 pennies in their old coin jars, inherited collections, or change rolls from banks. One collector reportedly found a silvery-looking 1980 penny in a roll of dimes. Another discovered a double-die obverse version in an estate sale box. These discoveries fuel the excitement and make collectors everywhere check their coins with new hope.